निलेश
We'll be starting soon. Everybody please be seated.
कोण
इको येतोय
काढलाय कट केला
नमस्कार। सबसे पहले आप सबको नए साल की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। हिज एक्सेलेंसी श्री आशीष सिन्हा जी, डेप्यूटी हाई कमिश्नर, इंडियन हाई कमीशन, काउंसलर श्रीयुत सुभाष गोयल जी, पैट्रन श्रीयुत शरद राव जी, ट्रस्टीज श्रीयुत रश्मि चिटनीस जी और हमारे मंडल के सभी प्यारे सदस्यों को मकर संक्रांति और आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। आज के इस प्रोग्राम में महाराष्ट्र मंडल की ओर से मैं प्राची जोशी, कल्चरल सेक्रेटरी ऑफ महाराष्ट्र मंडल,
मैं चिन्मयी खोट, चिल्ड्रंस वेलफेयर सेक्रेटरी ऑफ महाराष्ट्र मंडल,
आप सबका सहर्ष स्वागत करते हैं। इस खुशी के अवसर पर मैं आप सबको कुछ पंक्तियां सुनाना चाहती हूँ। आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव हम सबको मिलकर मनाना है। जन जन की भागीदारी से आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाना है। आजादी की वीर गाथा को जन जन तक पहुंचाना है। अनगिनत देश में मिटने वाले आखिर कितनों को हमने जाना है। खोए बैठे थे जो कहीं अतीत में, अब सामने उनको लाना है। लहू तो उनका भी बहा था, ठाना उन्होंने भी था कि देश को आजाद कराना है। किस्सा उनकी वीरता का हर बच्चे को बतलाना है। कुछ इस तरह हमको अपना इतिहास बचाना है। इतिहास के पन्नों को एक बार फिर से पलटाना है। आजादी के वीर गाथाओं को आखिर कितना हमने जाना है। 75 सालों के आजाद भारत को जाने कितना जमाना है। क्या पाया क्या खोया हमने, विचार इस पे फरमाना है। लेकर सीख अतीत से कुछ नया हमको कर जाना है। लेने हैं 75 संकल्प, भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाना है। भारत को विश्व गुरु
वाह क्या बात है। हमें अपनी अगली पीढ़ी में ऐसे ही विचारों के बीज बोने चाहिए। यही विचार तो हमारे भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाएंगे। We take this opportunity to welcome you all to our very first event of this new calendar year. For last almost 2 years, we had to resort to virtual events thanks to this pandemic. We definitely learned a lot as to how we can celebrate together and still be very happy. In this context, I would like to state that this is a very special event since this has given us a chance to come together and celebrate. With this event, we are commemorating Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav and we wish you all a wonderful new year ahead.
भारत देश को विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ाएंगे। भारत देश को विकास के पथ पर आगे बढ़ाएंगे। स्वतंत्रता दिवस पर आजादी महोत्सव मनाएंगे। On this note, I would like to invite our General Secretary, Mrs. Mukta Patilkar, for her opening address.
Hello. Thank you so much, Chinmani Venkataji. Chairman Shri Ajay Apte, Patron Shri Sharad Ram, Trustee Shri Rashmi Jagdish, members of Managing Committee, all the members of Maharashtra Mandal present tonight. Our guest of honor tonight, His Excellency Shri Ashish Sinha Ji, Deputy High Commissioner, Indian High Commission, and his family. Shri Subhash Chandra Goyal Ji, Council, Indian High Commission. Namaskar and a very good evening to you all. We are delighted to be celebrating this very special evening with you all today. An amazing celebration of Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav is happening worldwide, and we are proud to be part of this celebration tonight. Years of Indian independence, Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. Amrit, as our scriptures tell us, it has the power of rejuvenation. It has a power to give life. अमृत जीवन देता है और अमृत महोत्सव के इस अवसर पर हम सारे भारतीय मिलके विश्व की व्यासपीठ पे नया जीवन दे रहे हैं। हमारी विचारधाराओं को, हमारी योग, आयुर्वेद, इन जैसी धरोहरों को, हमारे कल्चर को, हमारी परंपराओं को। संतोष की बात एक और भी है कि आजकल जो भारत में हमें देखने को मिल रहा है, तो भारत का जो प्रोग्रेस है वो भी हमें बहुत ही सैटिस्फाई करता है। एक सारे क्षेत्रों में एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव चेंज नजर आता है। जैसे मानो सारे क्षेत्रों में अमृत पी लिया हो, स्वच्छ भारत अभियान हो, रिवोकेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हो, या लिबरलाइजेशन ऑफ फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉलिसीज हो, राम मंदिर का जो न्यायालयीन हल हमने निकाला हो, ये सारी बातें हैं वो हम एनआरआई लोगों को भी देश के बाहर रहते हुए भी हमारे देश के बारे में एक फील गुड फैक्टर लाती है हमें। लास्ट ईयर अराउंड अगस्त श्री आशीष सिन्हा जी ने केनिया में जो इंडियन कम्युनिटीज हैं उनके लीडर्स की एक बैठक बुलाई थी और उस बैठक में उन्होंने हम सबको आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मनाने के लिए प्रेरित किया था, प्रोत्साहित किया था, हमारा मार्गदर्शन किया था। और आज सौभाग्य की बात यह है कि महाराष्ट्र मंडल जब यह सेलिब्रेशन कर रहा है तो उसके अवसर पर श्री आशीष सिन्हा जी मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में हमें प्राप्त हुए हैं। महाराष्ट्र मंडल के सारे सदस्य छोटे से लेकर बड़े तक आज इस उत्सव में, समारोह में सम्मिलित हुए हैं। छोटे बच्चों ने ऊपर जो ड्राइंग बनाए हैं उनमें से उनका देश प्रेम दिखता है, केनिया के प्रति भी उनका प्रेम भाव दिखता है। जो रंगोलियां बनाई गई है उनमें इंडिया केनिया का सौहार्द का उनका बॉन्डिंग दिखता है। 2 years ago in 2020, Maharashtra Mandal completed 75 years of its existence in Kenya. contributed significantly to the welfare of local Kenyans through our social service programs. And I am sure this has contributed to some extent in bonding the Indian and Kenyan people. जब हम स्वतंत्र भारत की बात करते हैं तो सबसे पहले हमें याद आता है भारत का सर्वोच्च न्याय, सुप्रीम लॉ, हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, भारत का संविधान। भारत का संविधान दुनिया का सबसे विस्तृत और डिटेल्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है। वैसे तो हर एक सिस्टम का अपना अपना कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होता है। एक सिंपल एग्जांपल हम ले लेते हैं हमारी ह्यूमन बॉडी का। अगर मैं जानती हूँ कि मेरी बॉडी का आयुर्वेदिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो है वो पित्त प्रकृति है या कफ प्रकृति है, और मैं अगर मेरा आहार विहार उस प्रकृति का आयुर्वेद में जो बताया गया है उसके अकॉर्डिंग रखती हूँ, तो मुझे बीमारियां कम होंगी और मैं अच्छी लाइफ जी सकूंगी। उसी प्रकार कोई भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो हमें बताता है राइट मैनर टू डू राइट थिंग्स। तो आज इस मौके पर हमारे पैट्रन श्री शरद राव जी, जो केनिया के जजेस एंड मैजिस्ट्रेट वेटिंग बोर्ड के चेयरमैन भी हैं, वो हमसे बात करने वाले हैं एक वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक पर, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया पे। हमारे प्रोग्राम के अध्यक्ष हैं। आज का हमारा दूसरा कार्यक्रम है मकर संक्रांति हल्दी कुमकुम का। हम जानते हैं कोई भी हिंदू फेस्टिवल हो, उनके जो रिचुअल्स होते हैं उनका एक साइंटिफिक बेस होता है। जैसे मकर संक्रांति पे हम तिल खाते हैं, पतंग उड़ाते हैं, सूर्य देव की पूजा करते हैं। उसी प्रकार हमारी एक महाराष्ट्रीय परंपरा है। हम महाराष्ट्रीय लोगों में मकर संक्रांति के दिन पे हम एक दूसरे को तिल देते हैं और कहते हैं तिल क्या गोड़ गोड़ बोला। तो गोड़ गोड़ बोला। तो ऊपर से देखा जाए तो बहुत ही सिंपल चीज लगती है, लेकिन आजकल के जमाने में इसका इम्पोर्टेंस इतना बढ़ गया है। जैसे हम जानते हैं कि दुनिया में, इस विश्व में बहुत सारे लोग आजकल अंदरूनी बीमारियों के शिकार रहते हैं। कैसी है ये अंदरूनी बीमारियां? जो डिप्रेशन है, स्ट्रेस है, एंजाइटी है। ऐसे में अगर हम हमारा व्यवहार सौहार्दपूर्ण रखें, किसी से चार प्यार वाली बातें करें, तो वो बातें हमारी किसी का स्ट्रेस कम करने में मदद कर सकती है। तो संक्रांति का ये जो संदेश है उसे भी हमें थोड़ा सीरियसली लेना चाहिए। तो सबको मकर संक्रमण पर्व की बहुत सारी शुभकामनाएं। हम सबकी जीवाओं पर गुड़ की मिठास रहे और हमारे हृदय में देश का गौरव बढ़ता रहे। इसी आशा और विश्वास के साथ मैं यहाँ पे विराम लेती हूँ। धन्यवाद।
We are also presenting him with the book written by Mr. Rashmi Chitnis on the history of Maharashtra Mandal. I would also request Mrs. Mukta Patil to welcome Mrs. Niti Sinha and Councillor Mr. Subhash Goyal. Sir, please.
थैंक यू अजय, थैंक यू मुग्धा। दिलों में बसा एक सपना था आजादी के मत वालों का। दिलों में बसा एक सपना था आजादी के मत वालों का। जश्न है ये भारत के आजाद 75 सालों का। इस बात को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं अपने कि वो अपने थॉट्स हम सबके साथ शेयर करें। श्री आजाद।
Namaskar. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. First of all, I take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Sinha, High Commissioner of His Excellency Deputy High Commissioner of India, Mr. Goyal, Mr. and Mrs. Sinha, Mr. Goyal. Sorry, I fumbled a bit. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's the second time that I believe you are coming over here. First time, I think we met during the Ganesh festival when you had come to seek divine blessings. And at that time you mentioned the starting of Azadi ka Mahotsav. And as a Maharashtra Mandal, we feel proud to be associated with it because ultimately our roots are in India. And not to forget, we carry India at heart. So these two things go hand in hand. So whenever it comes to celebration regarding India, we are always happy to associate with it. A short history on Maharashtra Mandal, sir. Maharashtra Mandal completed 75 years in 2020. I have previously witnessed the Golden Jubilee of Maharashtra Mandal when 50 years were celebrated. What was missing in the Diamond Jubilee of Maharashtra Mandal was the color and form. Because 2020 brought about new protocols of masks and social distancing and all that. So we could not associate or we could not welcome everybody together for the program to get the color and form. But fortunately, we had Mr. Chipnis who published a book on short history on Maharashtra Mandal, which narrates the humble beginning of Maharashtra Mandal, where it started, how it grew. And each and every member in this room, I can surely assure you, has worked towards the growth of Maharashtra Mandal. Because Maharashtra Mandal, let me tell you, we don't have funds at hand. Whatever development has happened has come out of donations, collection by each and every member working towards the goal of growth. Because the same growth we share it with the society in social CSRs, we respect the social atmosphere around us, we feel that we are responsible towards the surrounding towards us, around us. So we share that whatever collections or whatever collections or donations are done, we share those. Plus we have this property where we have residential complex where we give subsidized, we give some subsidy on rents to Maharashtrians. So that is also towards the society, we can say, the society that we live in. We have a laid down constitution to which we adhere, definitely. We have our AGMs according to the adhered constitution. And on a lighter note, I must say that our people also retort to borrow a page from our Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha to sort out their differences in a very peaceful manner. Yet, and yet not to forget, at the end of the day, sit together like our politicians and have a cup of tea together. So those differences are definitely ironed out around that time. Now what do I say about India? Civilization which is 10,000 years old, but what we are celebrating is the span of only 75 years. I mean, what has India not got? India was advanced way before NASA showed us the stars. India was much advanced with astronomy and astrology. We were called the Jugaad people, that we could put everything together. But today the times have changed. Today the times have changed. We are doing everything in-house. We have Make in India program where we are able to manufacture everything. And this has only happened because of wise leadership. If this wise leadership was not there, these things would not have happened. Today we are serving a person sitting in San Francisco with a service center in Chennai. We are doing everything in IT that is possible. Today, I mean, companies like Infosys, Tata Consultancies and all, they are ruling the IT industry. So, what we are looking at is not 75 years, we are looking at the Shatabdi celebration where India will be. Because the way the infrastructure is growing and the way we are going ahead, there is nothing that can stop us. So, I take this opportunity once again, Mr. Sinha, that you have come over here to thank you and to welcome you wholeheartedly on behalf of the managing committee and the people of Maharashtra. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ajay. Our chief guest for today, Mr. Ashish Sinha, Deputy High Commissioner of India to Kenya and Deputy Permanent Representative to UN Environment and UN Habitat, is a career diplomat from India with over 16 years of experience in the Indian Foreign Service. Before taking over this position about 2 years ago, Mr. Sinha served as a counselor in the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations in New York for 3 years. Since joining the Indian Foreign Service in 2005, he had the opportunity to serve in the embassies of India in Spain and Nepal in diplomatic capacities. He also served in the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi as a desk officer for India's relations with its neighbor Pakistan and in the Office of External Affairs Minister. He speaks Spanish in addition to English and Hindi. Prior to joining the diplomatic service, he worked with the private sector and NGOs in India, primarily working in the development sector. I would now like to invite Mr. Sinha on stage to share a few words with us.
Thank you, Chinmay and Prachi. Chairman Azadi ji, Mahotsav ji, Trustee Rashmi ji, Patron Sharanrao ji, members of Maharashtra Mandal, everyone. Happy New Year, Happy Makar Sankranti, Happy Azadi Mahotsav 75th year of India's independence. Thank you very much for having us and involving High Commission of India in your celebration of Azadi Mahotsav. We are very, very honored and privileged to be here, jointly celebrating this pious occasion. Though it's slightly, injustice that I'm going to speak after such illustrious speakers, such colorful and well-prepared comparisons. But it's really heartening to see the efforts made by Maharashtra Mandal, the team, and the rangolis people have made, kids of various age groups who have put their crayons and colors on paper. Truly feel privileged and connected. Actually, this is not my second time. I would have come here half a dozen times actually in 2 years, despite COVID. Had there been no COVID, I would have done possibly half a century. I came here first time in the very first week of my arrival in Kenya, when Maharashtra Mandal was celebrating Ganesh Mahotsav in 2019. Yeah. And I was just trying to understand what this first week of my arrival, and that's when I met various people here, Dr. Heda, Dr. Jyoti Trivedi, many people, and who I still continue my association since then till now. So personal privilege of being associated. I would also like to convey greetings from our High Commissioner, Dr. Virendra Paul, who very much wanted to be here, but because of competing engagement and pre-scheduled commitments of programs of similar nature, he couldn't come. But he has conveyed his greetings and best wishes to Maharashtra Mandal for this event and all other events that they do in the future. In fact, in last August, when we started involving Diaspora Association and Community Association in celebration of Azadi Mahotsav, this is the first dedicated event by a community association in Kenya on Azadi Mahotsav. So many congratulations. And I'm sure after this event we'll look forward to many more to come, because Azadi Mahotsav will go on till 2023. Prime Minister Modi, he started this on 12th March 2021. ये जब महात्मा गांधी ने नमक सत्याग्रह किया था 12 मार्च 1930 को, it was a Gandhi march from Sabarmati Ashram to the coast to break the salt law. And basically the idea was then to bring back a sense of self-reliance and self-respect among Indians then, and which finally yielded and resulted into India's freedom. Similarly now, this effort will also bring the self-respect and self-reliance, Atmanirbharta or Swabhiman, in our rich cultural heritage, in our rich scientific achievements, in our rich industry, in our very scientific and methodical parenting, in Swakshita, in manufacturing. So it's a 360-degree approach to instill the self-respect, resilience and self-reliance among Indians in India and among people of Indian origin across the globe. And we are very happy to see diaspora's participation in this event, in this journey of 75 weeks starting 12th March till 15th of August 2023. We will have many things which will be 75 events, sometimes 75,000 such events or iterations, sometimes 7.5 million Surya Namaskars, so on and so forth. So basically, a platform to integrate, energize, but it's not empty rhetoric. It's not just remembering our past, it's looking towards the future. In Atmanirbhar Bharat and something called PLI, Production Linked Initiative, where 200 lakh crore, I don't know how much it is. That which amount is pledged by Government of India for India's manufacturing sector. It started with electronics and now it spans over 13 sectors, pharmaceuticals, textiles, so on and so forth. Tax holidays and subsidies will be given for manufacturing in India. So basically, this is well timed, and Prime Minister and his team has seen opportunity in crisis, the crisis which COVID brought. The world thought of an alternative destination to one place where all the manufacturing got concentrated over a period of time. So geographical diversification of manufacturing to withstand any situation like COVID in future. And India is an obvious choice. And Government of India lapped up this opportunity very well with all its programs, policies, confidence that India has been able to bring about in the investors worldwide, and those investors also include our diaspora members. Gradually we have started looking up to our community members abroad so much, which wasn't thought of, earlier days it was only cultural connection. But now when India needs oxygen, we look up to our people abroad to facilitate that. And this is what happened last year during the second surge of COVID in May, June 2021. Our community people who lobbied with various host governments wherever they are, and thankfully our community people are so well placed, whichever country they are in. They've done so well for themselves. They have integrated so well with the host country without forgetting their connect with India. And their being well placed, their being connected to India has a lot of value for your motherland. We saw very quickly in a very short span of time, we could overcome that crisis. Crisis happened, we lost lives, but then we were able to rise to the occasion very soon. And we are ready for any such eventuality in future. We are better prepared to handle should such an occasion comes. God willing, it never comes. But when it comes, we are better prepared. And our connected diaspora is a major confidence in that. So, this Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, as I said, is symbolism, is culture, is diaspora connect, it's strengthening our economy, strengthening our polity, strengthening our civic behavior, Swachhata, as I said. So everything got covered in it, and we're sure when we complete 75 weeks in 2023, and when we look back, we'll feel proud, we'll feel connected and associated with this great initiative. Around this occasion, it's very timely that one of the best legal luminary of this country, an Indian community member, Mr. Sharad Rao, has come out with a book on Indian Constitution. In fact, I've been a part of this journey of him writing this book when we celebrated Constitution Day, and he was invited as a speaker, and that gave him a lot of insights, and then he further worked on it. And he has brought out in his book, which you'll hear from him, but I'll just mention that some of the not so well-known aspects of Indian Constitution, not very legalistic kind of a document, but very interesting read about the document, about the book itself, about the calligraphy, and also through this effort, he has been able to recognize some of the people who were associated with drafting and writing of Constitution those days, who we do not know or remember so well as we do with some others. So I very much look forward along with you to hear his speech. And every time he speaks and I hear, and I feel that time should just stand still and we keep hearing and keep speaking. So I join you in looking forward to listening to his speech. And if you're allowed, we'll ask some questions also after that, just to understand better. This COVID thing has completely crippled the normal way of life, and even in our High Commission, we've been doing things which are not the routine diplomatic activity, not just the routine diplomatic activity of our diplomatic mission. We were tasked with sending stranded Indians in Kenya and bringing stranded Kenyans in India back when there was absolute lockdown, and which we as a mission never did. We hardly had any institutional experience in doing that. Similarly, getting vaccines for Kenya directly and through COVAX Alliance. So a lot of these things are absolutely new, and we've been able to rise up to the occasion. We are still engaged with the government of Kenya on, very soon we expect that we'll get mutual recognition of our vaccine certificates. Those who are vaccinated here, their certificates will be equally respected in India and vice versa. Joint research on vaccine production, so on and so forth. So we are very intensely going to be engaged with Kenya, and all of this got a boost during a recent visit of our External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, in June. And I remember Mukherjee asked how she can get mangoes from India. So, this is one of our tasks, because she asked, and it's there, it flashes against our, one of the deliverables that we have to provide mangoes. So, as I was saying, we are working in a different way, still trying to not forget and not put aside the normal ceremonies that we do. Instead of doing those ceremonies in person in physical way, we've been doing online, and we are very happy that many of our community members have been present on our social media handles. and the connect has not been lost. In the coming week on 26th January, when we celebrate our Republic Day, I request you to please join us at 10 in the morning for flag hosting by the High Commissioner, of course virtually. And please spread this message to your other friends in community. And most likely the next such event, which will be Independence Day, will have the occasion to celebrate in person with all of you, with all our community members together. This January is, I think, second actually. In 2020, when it started, we were just watching the news of COVID spread elsewhere. In 2021, we thought it's a thing of past. In 2022, we have come to realize that we can live with it. So, we hope that the future makes us and brings us more at ease with the challenges, and we handle it even better than we have done in the past. So that's it. Thank you very much for having us, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspirational words.
75वें वर्ष काटकर 75 वर्षों की उपलब्धियां हम बताएंगे। लेंगे नए संकल्प, भारत को विश्वगुरु बनाएंगे, भारत को विश्वगुरु बनाएंगे।
India is the largest democracy with more than 850 million voters who elect representatives to the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies. Our Indian constitution is an integral part of our social fabric. Azadi Mahotsav is dedicated to the people of India who have not only been instrumental in bringing India this far in its evolutionary journey, but also hold within them the power and potential to enable Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's vision of activating India 2.0, fueled by a spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are blessed to have one such visionary amongst us, who is our today's speaker, Mr. Sharad Rao. He is a lawyer by profession and a leading legal authority in Kenya. He has served at the International Court of Hague for several years. Currently, he is the chairman of Kenyan Judges and Magistrates Waiting Board. I would like now to ask Mr. Ajay Apte to welcome him, and I would request Mr. Rao to please start with the speech.
माइक एडजस्ट करायला नाही तू करत नाही, ओपन नाही करत अभिजित त्याला टेकू नको, बाहेर घे, माईक बाहेर घे, खाली घे थोड़ा. हाँ, लेट हिम हैंडल. गुड इवनिंग लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. हाँ, बस.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After 75 years that we refer to as the 75 years of existence of Maharashtra and India, I had spent 3 years in London and 12 years in Rome. So take out 15 years, and the rest of the 60 years I was actively connected. You also mentioned, Mr. Sinha, the Gandhi March, Mahatma Gandhi. Why we came to Kenya, why my parents came to Kenya, is associated with the Quit India movement. My mother participated as number 2 to Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay in the 1931 Quit movement, Quit India movement, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi. And she got arrested now for the 3rd time, I think, and she went to jail for about the 3rd time. That's when my father thought that enough was enough, and we looked to get her out when she comes out of prison to a different country. That's how I came here in 1931. And myself, my elder brother, and I were both born here in Kenya. I was one of the speakers, as you mentioned, to an event organized by the High Commission. And that was on the 9th, the last one was on the 9th of March, 9th of January, on the occasion of the Pravasi Bharati Days. 9th January has special significance because on 9th January 1915, the Pravasi Bharati, Mahatma Gandhi, returned from South Africa to India. And that is why 9th of January is celebrated as the Pravasi Bharati Days. We had also on that day, we had Dr. Heda. He is one of the recipients, proud recipients of this award. He was also there. He spoke in Hindi and about the significance of the award and also about the significance of the overseas citizenship of India, which was introduced in the time of, I think it was Mr. Vajpayee. At the same event, the High Commission launched a write-up by me, which was titled Constitution of India, its unique features. And I circulated it, not realizing that I was going to be speaking there on our website, which is Upbeat Mansi. I thought, therefore, not to speak on the same subject today, because I thought that it would be of less interest to members who had already looked up or read that particular letter. But our chairman, Ajay Apte, our secretary, said as today's function is associated as part of the celebration marking the 75th anniversary of India's independence, it would be appropriate and relevant that I speak about the Constitution of India as had been agreed earlier. India's Constitution is indeed a unique document. I looked at various constitutions of major countries, United States. Of course, England doesn't have a constitution. Our own Kenyan, which is also based very much, the initial one was based on India's constitution. And India, we had Mr. Malik, who came here and assisted in the drafting of the first constitution of Kenya. So, but the Indian constitution is the longest constitution in the world. And it is written, it's a written constitution. It contains 117,369 words. And all that was written, handwritten, and was later translated in Hindi by Dr. Raghu Vera, is a linguist and a scholar who was a member of the Constituent Assembly and the Rajya Sabha in 1952 and 1957. And the Hindi version consists of 145,000 words. Two, it is entirely, as I said, handwritten. It's written in calligraphic style by Prince Bihari Raizada. Three, it contains illustrations on each page of a chapter, ranging from the Mohenjo-daro Indus Valley civilization to the time that India achieved independence. The illustrations are by artists from Kalabhavan, Shantiniketan, under the guidance of a renowned artist called Nandalal Bose. The preamble also has intricate patterns drawn by one Behar Ram Singh and is signed by him. Nandalal Bose was the principal of Kalabhavan. He was a pupil of Rabindranath Tagore, the first Indian to gain international recognition as an artist. Rabindranath was a major exponent of Swadeshi values of the Indian art and was the founder and creator of Indian Society of Oriental Art. Apart from the calligraphy, Raizada also designed the borders of every page of the Constitution with beautiful pieces of art in miniature style. The manuscript consists of 251 pages and written on parchment sheets. This measured 16 by 22 inches and have a lifespan of 1,000 years. It weighs 3.75 kilograms. Raizada used 432 pen holders for the calligraphy using gold, leaf and stone colors, and it took him 6 months to produce. When he was offered by Pandit Nehru payment for his work, Raizada refused. But he made one request. He requested that his name appears on each page of the Constitution, and on the last page along with his grandfather's name. His grandfather was an expert on calligraphy, and he learned it from him. Nehru honored this request, and both names appear in the Constitution. I was able to verify this when the High Commissioner gave me his copy of the Constitution to look at. The illustrations in the Constitution were not chosen arbitrarily, nor its seals are meant to be just artistic embellishment of the Constitution. On the contrary, they were selected to represent the ethos and values of India, which the Constitution seeks to reinforce through written words. The very terms throughout the Constitution are in a non-religious context, as indeed is the Constitution, emphasizing a secular India. The drafting of the Constitution was entrusted to a Constituent Assembly, which was formed on the recommendation of Pandit Motilal Nehru, in a decision that was taken by the Indian National Congress in Karachi. It was formed on the 6th of December 1946 and met for the first time on the 9th of December 1946 in the Constitution Hall, now the Central Hall of Parliament. The Muslim League, who wanted a separate state for Muslims, boycotted the meeting. Apart from Dr. Rajendra Prasad, H.C. Mukherjee, the Constituent Assembly included people like Dr. Ambedkar, Raj Gopalachari, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Kanhaiya Munshi, Ganesh Mavlankar, Abdul Kalam Azad, and Shyam Prasad Mukherjee. The welcome feature of that was there were 15 Indian women in the drafting, and this included some very well-known names, such as Durgabai Deshmukh, the wife of Chintaman Deshmukh, the first governor of the Reserve Bank of India, and who later served as the Minister for Finance in Pandit Nehru's cabinet. Then we had Hansa Jivraj Mehta. Now Hansa Mehta's father, Manubhai Mehta, was the then Diwan of Baroda. She was educated in England as a young child and studied sociology and journalism before she returned to India. She was appointed by Pandit Nehru to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. And Hansa Mehta was single-handedly responsible for amending a critical feature of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. She made them to insert an amendment to Article 1 of the Universal Declaration, namely that all men are born equal, free and equal. That was proposed and adopted by them at the instance of Hansa Mehta. The change was small but monumental, and Hansa Mehta was invited to present the national flag to President Rajendra Prasad on the eve of India's independence on 14th of August 1947. Then they had Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, a well-known name, who came from the princely state of Kapurthala in the Punjab, and as you know, she served for years as the Minister of Health. Then we had Vijayalakshmi Pandit, Nehru's sister, who served as India's ambassador to Moscow, Washington, and Mexico, and as High Commissioner in London. In 1953, she became the first woman to be elected President of the United Nations General Assembly and served as India's representative to the UN Human Rights Commission. Then we had Sarojini Naidu, who studied at King's College London and Girton College, Cambridge. He was a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature and was popularly called the Nightingale of India. She first met Mahatma Gandhi in London on the eve of the Great European War of 1914 in an old, unfashionable house where she saw a little man, she put it, with shaven head, seated on the floor on a black prison blanket and eating a messy meal of squashed tomatoes and olive oil out of a wooden prison bowl. She burst instinctively into laughter at this amusing and unexpected vision of a famous leader whose name had already become a household word in India. On the 13th of December 1946, Pandit Nehru presented to the Assembly what was described as objective resolution, which laid down principles of the Constitution. Pursuant to it, the Assembly resolved to constitute India into an independent, sovereign, democratic republic and to frame a constitution to design the future political setup of India. This was drafted by Pandit Nehru. India became independent, as you know, on the 15th of August 1947, and Pandit Nehru addressed the nation in a speech famously described as the tryst with destiny. Based on Pandit Nehru's objective resolution, India's constitution gave institutional expression to the fundamental commitment of equality, liberty, democracy, sovereignty, and a cosmopolitan identity. This later formed the basis of the preamble of the Constitution. Dr. Ambedkar, as you know, was chairman of the drafting committee and is widely referred to as the chief architect of the Constitution. But the initial draft was prepared by Sir Bengal Narasimha, a distant cousin of mine, who later served as a judge in the International Court of Justice. It consisted of 243 articles. After lengthy discussions, the revised draft was prepared and submitted to the Assembly on the 4th of November, and it had 395 articles and 8 schedules. Addressing the Constitution Assembly on the 24th of November 1949, Dr. Ambedkar acknowledged the contribution of Sir Bengal Narasimha and Mr. Mukherjee with these words. He said, "The credit given to me does not really belong to me. It belongs partly to Sir Bengal Narasimha, the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly, who prepared the draft of the Constitution for consideration of the drafting committee." And referring to Mr. Mukherjee, added, "Much greater share of the credit must go to S. N. Mukherjee, who was the chief draftsman, for his ability to put the most intricate proposals in the simplest and clearest work." The Constitution Assembly held 145 meetings. It took 11 sessions, 2 years, 11 months, and 17 days to come up with the draft. The estimated cost of the Constitutional Assembly was rupees 6.3 crores, and the draft was passed by the Constituent Assembly on the 26th of November 1949 and was formally adopted on the 26th of January 1950. And as adopted in 1950, it now contained 395 articles in 22 parts and 8 schedules. Each of those parts, as I said, has an illustration, and it's really a work of art that you really need to look at. And then you can see the pictures in the book written by me. It now has 448 articles and 12 schedules and 5 appendices. The Constitution was signed by 284 members in the Central Hall of Parliament, which was then known as the Constitution Hall, and came into effect on the 26th of January 1950, the day that India declared itself as a republic. Another unique feature of the Constitution is that both these documents, in English and Hindi, they are bound in black Moroccan leather and embossed in gold, and are preserved in specially sealed helium-filled glass cases to prevent deterioration. Both versions are individually mounted in polished stainless stands with varnished teak cabinet to cover the metal frames of the cases. They are kept in a climatically controlled, strong room in the library of the Indian Parliament, and the cases bear inscriptions in English and Hindi. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first President of India, was naturally the first person to sign the Constitution. And the last person to sign it was Firoz Gandhi, husband of Indira Gandhi, who was then the President of the Constituent Assembly. The preamble to the Constitution is based, as I said, on the objective resolution drafted and moved by Pandit Nehru on the 13th of December 1946. And the preamble starts with the word, "We, the people of India, having resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, democratic republic." The words, "we the people," are drawn from the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. This and other provisions in the preamble are referred to as a bag of borrowings and include provisions from a series of statutes which apply to British India as enacted by the British Parliament. The words liberty, equity, fraternity, they come from the Constitution of France. The concept of 5-year plan comes from the Soviet Union. The laws governing the Supreme Court and concept of procedure established by law come from the Constitution of Japan. The concept of suspension of fundamental rights during an emergency, they come from the Weimar Constitution of Germany. And that's why it's referred to as the bag of borrowings. The preamble was amended through the Constitution 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 at the instance of the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. That had a number of amendments, and a number of amendments were made at the instance of Indira Gandhi with a view to protect the emergency that she had declared in June 1975, which lasted for 21 months, and that emergency declaration was signed by the then President of India, Dr. Fakhruddin Ahmed. Worth noting is that the initial constitution did contain, which was referred to, I think, by Mukta, the Article 370, and granting special status to Jammu and Kashmir, and an article which is called Article 35A. Kashmir has had and has, as you know, an overwhelming Muslim majority, with a Maharaja who was Hindu. The Maharaja Hari Singh was not willing to accede Kashmir to either India or Pakistan. He wanted an independent state. However, in July 1947, a tribal rebellion broke out against him, following an uprising by a Pathan tribal militia based in Pakistan. Maharaja Hari Singh decided to turn to India for military assistance. With India unwilling to assist, unless he acceded to India, Maharaja Hari Singh on the 26th of October 1947 wrote to Lord Mountbatten, the Governor General. The letter said, "With the conditions obtaining at present in my state and great emergency of the situation as it exists, I have no option but to ask for help from India. I have accordingly decided to do so, and I attach the instrument of accession for the acceptance by your government." On receiving the letter from the Maharaja, Lord Mountbatten called Pandit Nehru, Sardar Patel, and Baldev Singh was Minister for Defence at the time, to discuss the accession. He also summoned Sir Manekshaw, Maharashtra was then a colonel and was commander of the Indian forces in Kashmir. Maharashtra informed them that the situation in Kashmir was grave, and if India did not send in the forces, Kashmir would be lost to the rebels. So he wanted orders to go in. Pandit Nehru fumbled over whether to order the forces or refer the matter to the United Nations. An angry Sardar Patel said to Nehru, Jawahar, do you want Kashmir or do you want to give it away? And Nehru replied, no, of course, we want to keep it. Then, said Sardar Patel, issue the order. And as Nehru still fumbled, Patel turned to Maharashtra and said, you have the order, moving. And that's how the Indian forces managed to drive out the rebels, and by then the regular forces of Pakistani troops which had become involved in that rebellion. And they were driven out to approximately the present line of control, where the state is divided with north and south, between India and Pakistan. And at that time, Maharashtra was ordered to cease fire. Maharashtra, when he received the letter or the telegram from Nehru, said that he needed 24 hours to drive out the entire rebel and Pakistani army from Kashmir. But then he was about to tear off the telegram, but he thought if he did it, he would be court-martialed. So he obeyed Pandit Nehru's order, and there was a ceasefire. And the rest you know. The instrument of accession, which I referred to, made no mention of special status for Jammu or Kashmir. But it was granted special status under that article referred to, Article 370 of the Constitution. The insertion of that article was opposed by Dr. Ambedkar. He said, making limited application of laws made by Parliament for the state of Jammu and Kashmir would create lots of problems rather than solve them. Ambedkar is believed to have said even to Sheikh Abdullah, he said, you wish India to protect your border. She should build roads in your areas, she should supply you food, grains, and Kashmir should get equal status as India. But the government of India should have only limited powers, and Indian people should have no right in Kashmir. To give consent in your proposal would be for me a treacherous thing to do against the interests of India, and I, as Minister for Law, will not do it. When Ambedkar refused to accept the suggested special status for Jammu and Kashmir, Sheikh Abdullah turned to Pandit Nehru. Nehru asked Sardar Patel to intercede and to assure Dr. Ambedkar that the article was only meant to be a temporary provision. So Pandit Nehru, because Ambedkar refused to draft it, asked Gopalaswamy Iyengar, who was the minister in our portfolio looking after Kashmir affairs at the time, to draft it. And this, despite objection from Dr. Ambedkar, who voted against it in the Constituent Assembly. Article 375 as drafted by Iyengar was on 17th October 49 inserted under Part 21, temporary, transitional and special provision. But that article, temporary though it was, remained in the Constitution until the 15th of August 2019, when the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha resolved to abrogate the article. And it was revoked on the 16th of August 2019, and the President implemented the resolution and revoked it through a presidential order. Article 35A is also significant. It was inserted again following an agreement in July 1952 between Pandit Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah to enable India's citizenship law to be made applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, but allowed the state to regulate the rights and privileges of its permanent residents and attach special rights and privileges to such residency, including the power to restrict settlement and acquire immovable property in Kashmir. This article is the article that was revoked also, along with Article 370. A significant and important part of India's constitution is that it guarantees fundamental rights of its citizens. They embody key values such as fairness, dignity, equality, and respect for all its citizens. Further, they protect liberties and freedom of the citizens against invasion of their rights by the state and helps counter authoritarianism and dictatorial rule. These rights can be challenged and can be protected at the instance of any citizen of India by the courts of India. And are an important means by which citizens can seek protection from the courts against abuse and violation of their rights. They are therefore an essential and welcome component of the Constitution of India. What is termed as the basic structure doctrine, and you would have seen this applied in the recent case of the BBI, where they picked this doctrine from India, and it's now being debated in the Supreme Court as to whether their doctrine was applicable to Kenya, and a decision will be made very shortly. But it is the bedrock of judicial review of all laws passed by Parliament. Namely, that no law can impeach on the basic structure of the Constitution, which includes parliamentary democracy, fundamental rights, judicial review, secularism. These are articles which cannot be amended because they are part of the basic structure of India's Constitution. And with the passing in 1978 of the 44th Amendment, emergency can now only be proclaimed on the basis of written advice by the Cabinet tendered to the President. Another significant feature that I want to mention is what is called judicial activism. Judicial activism is a concept which was introduced into India during the emergency. This concept originated in the US in 1947. It is the role that the judiciary plays in upholding and promoting the rights of citizens, and entails more often than not overstepping into the preserve of the executive and the legislature when they overstep their boundaries or attempt to dilute those fundamental rights. The greatest proponent of judicial activism in India was the late Justice Bhagwati, who said that a judge infuses life and blood into the dry skeleton provided by the legislature and creates a living organism appropriate and adequate to meet the needs of society. Bhagwati was so well versed in the Constitution that when he heard arguments on the Constitution, he would take no notes. He would just listen for the 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, however long it took. And then he would call his secretary and he would dictate the judgment orally without any notes in it. That was Justice Bhagwati, who was the one who introduced judicial activism in India. Sir Ivan Jennings was a prominent lawyer and an academic who served as Vice Chancellor of the University of Cambridge and was then seconded to the University of Colombo. And he was the author of a book, The Law and the Constitution, which is accepted as the authority on constitutions. But he was one of the most active critics of India's Constitution. He said that the Indian Constitution is a treat for the lawyers, made by the lawyers for the lawyers. He said it is far too large and therefore far too rigid, too caged by its history, and too unwieldy to be molded into something useful through judicious interpretations. Overall, in his judgment, he said that this Constitution will not endure. But it has endured. It has endured as of today for over 72 years and shall in the foreseeable future. Hence, Indians can rest assured their fundamental rights as guaranteed under the Constitution shall endure and will be fully protected by a judiciary that the public believe will fearlessly uphold the rights of all in society, and particularly those rights which have been most disregarded. India today celebrates 75 years of India's independence. But let us remember that 7.5 decades ago, India was a different country. It had just come through a painful partition in which over 1 million people died and 15 million people were rendered homeless. It was a country with a large impoverished population, fledgling industries, and was a country suffering from acute food shortages. The literacy rate of India at the time was 16.1%. The infant mortality rate was 146 for every 1,000 births. And the life expectancy of an Indian was 27 years, which today is almost on par with that of the more advanced countries. India's growth has been impressive, from agricultural production into nuclear and space technology, from affordable healthcare to world-class educational institutions, becoming, as was mentioned, an IT power and having the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. In space technology, as you know, India successfully launched Chandrayaan, the moon exploration mission, Mangalyaan, the Mars orbital mission, the only nation in the world to reach Mars at its first attempt. It is a strong network of scientific and technological institutions, as well as the third largest pool of scientific technical manpower in the world. Transformation of women has also been a major issue. Indira Gandhi was the first woman to serve as Prime Minister. Pratibha Patil served as President. Meera Kumar served as Speaker of Parliament. And India has had women in its cabinet as Chief Ministers of States. There are women in senior positions in the police, in combat forces, in the armed forces, working as space and nuclear scientists in India and abroad, and as CEOs of major firms in India and abroad. So India's standing today in the international arena has increased. Today it is one, if not one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And in the current pandemic, it came to light that India is also a major producer of vaccines, estimated to be around 15 million kilograms of vaccines produced yearly. And one of its greatest achievements has been the establishment of a vibrant democracy and the strengthening of democratic values over the last 7.5 decades. Given India's great diversity in terms of geography, language, religion, culture, and ethnicity, there have admittedly been a few aberrations, but India's journey towards development, prosperity, and stability is a story of inspiration. This then is today's India, 75 years after gaining independence from the British. Hence, Indians should not look back at what India has not accomplished, but acknowledge with pride what India has achieved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for guiding us. आज के इस शुभ अवसर पर हमने रंगोली और ड्राइंग कंपटीशन ऑर्गेनाइज किए थे। जब इस कंपटीशन के बारे में विचार मन में कर रहे थे, तब हमारे मन में विचार पक्का था कि हम सबकी मातृभूमि भारत और कर्मभूमि केन्या, जिनके साथ हमारे दिल के तार जुड़े हुए थे, हम इन दोनों का संगम करके क्यों ना कुछ नई थीम बनाई जाए।
Pondering on the same theme, which were as follows. For Rangoli, it was India-Kenya friendship, and for the drawing competition, the younger age group had two topics, my experience of Kenya and my love for my country. And for the older age group, the topics were India in the coming 10 years from your imagination and draw and paint your patriotism. To recognize the efforts that were put in by those wonderful participants, I would like now to call upon Honorable Mr. Sinha to give away the prizes to the winners of these competitions. Sir, please, come on stage. We start with the second prize winners. For the drawing competition, Group A, which was the smallest age group, the prize goes to Dhruv Pawar. We'll go on to the next category. Dhruv Pawar, Group A, second prize for drawing competition. Group B, the second prize goes to Arya Patil. Group C, the second prize goes to Siddhant Nande. And now we move on to the Rangoli competition second prize winner, and it goes to, she's a very new member for us, Krupali Panchbhai. Congratulations, Krupali. You can see a big round of applause to all our winners. A very congratulations to them all.
अब समय आ गया है रंगोली और ड्राइंग कंपटीशन के विनर्स डिक्लेयर करने का। ड्राइंग कंपटीशन ग्रुप ए का फर्स्ट प्राइज जाता है मधुरा कुंभलवार को। ग्रुप सी की विनर है स्निग्धा हेगड़े। stage Mrs. Renu Srivastava. Mr. Nitin Mangale. Mrs. Anamika Tonge. Mrs. Renu Srivastava. Mr. Nitin Mangale. Mrs. Anamika Tonge. Thank you so much, sir.
We are concluding this event with Vande Mataram. I request everybody to please stand up.
भारत माता की वंदे
जय शिवाजी.
Now we would like to request everyone to proceed for dinner in the lawns.
Ladies are invited to stay back for Haldi Kumkum. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you so much everyone and please have a good evening.